Welcome back. Happy 2024. Wendell and Beth are coming back for our new content for our love month. So we decided we'd start in our love month. We have a lot to share, and just as providers, we have noticed what a crisis we're in this country with mental health, anxiety, and depression. And our common theme that we always end up talking about, because it bleeds into everything, is stress, burnout, high cortisol hormones, our most important hormone, oxytocin. So we are going to talk about all these lovely things today, and hopefully get y'all started for a new year, new you, and just how to enjoy February, because I'm already hearing from friends that 2024 is already starting off as a tough year. So we're going to make it a great year. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and this is a year of intentions. Not resolutions. Intentions, because we intend to do a lot of things. So we intend to have goals that we don't keep. We intend to eat better. We intend to exercise more. Let's make those intentions real. Let's make them happen. It's 2024. It's time to move forward. This is how we do it.
That's right.
As Dr. John Wellness says, right?
Yes. So. His most recent TikTok. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's quite hysterical.
Dr. John Wellness. Dr. John Wellness.
Yes. And so Valentine's, happy Valentine's, everybody. I hope you guys have something fantastic planned for whatever fits your needs for today. We're bringing our favorites. We've got some champagne with strawberries, our favorites that our favorite cocktail. And of course, my favorite is we've got some chocolate covered strawberries and my favorite champagne that I'm going to celebrate my Valentine's evening with my husband and some fabulous things here. What are you guys doing for Valentine's?
Hanging out with family, hanging with Carson, Myra, hanging out with the family, just spending some time together, getting the oxytocin flowing, the connection, the attachment with the family together is so huge. Whether it's with your partner, with your family, being with others is just so vital to your existence.
Yep. And we have a guest speaker. If anybody sees him in the camera, Ralphie the cat, who looks like a miniature lion, has walked in. And we do struggle with morbid obesity with him, so we are working on a lot of the practices with our cat. But in case he,
plant-based diet for him.
He needs a plant-based diet. So let's get started. Well, first of all, wait. Let me say one more thing. Has anybody noticed Wendell's Air Jordans? I asked him earlier. I said, "Are you like 12? How does this work right now?" So love it.
Get a close up of those.
But what we talked about in our wrap up was the importance of serotonin and dopamine, and we're going to talk a little bit about them today, and how serotonin is one of your neurotransmitters and hormones that makes you happy, but dopamine is the one that brings it across the finish line, and dopamine is what we as humans actively are searching for every day. We want hits of dopamine constantly that make us feel happy. So that is his hit of dopamine for Valentine's, or his Air Jordans.
Yes.
So what we decided to do was start with the love hormone oxytocin. Super important hormone that is talked about some, but probably undervalued in a lot of practice settings. And if you're dealing with the stress burnout syndrome and you can't lose weight, you're not sleeping well, you're getting the metabolic belly fat, men and women, and you're in this high stress syndrome, we need to reset. And the cascade starts with oxytocin. So Wendell already mentioned, and we talk a lot about love and, hugging my kids or hugging my cat or kissing my husband, or laughing with friends or walking in nature. Those are all things that release oxytocin. And when you improve oxytocin, you decrease your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And when you decrease cortisol, you are decreasing insulin, because the unfortunate thing about high stress burnout states is when the cortisol's way up here, guys, insulin is way up here, and you now have insulin resistance. And you can't lose weight, you don't feel good, you can eat nothing all day, and you're still getting on the scale and you're 5 pounds over. So when you get that insulin under control, that's when you start the journey of feeling great. And so oxytocin, foods that release oxytocin are things like avocados. Oh, my favorite. I have avocados probably almost every day because it has a lot of other good properties too. But
good fat.
Chamomile teas, nuts, dark chocolate. So I've got some dark chocolate on my strawberries.
Testosterone builder.
Yeah, and a testosterone builder. That's right. Oxytocin. What are some other ones you can think of? Nuts.
Oh goodness.
Eggs.
All
You guys,
eggs are good. Whole eggs. Cage free, of course.
Cage free. That's right.
Those are very important. Hormone free is very important to kind of reduce the inflammation that you get from all the hormones that are in all the toxic foods that we consume. Definitely staying away from the xenoestrogens, which are in the plastics, right?
Yeah.
Because that really kind of tanks your testosterone, it tanks your oxytocin, it tanks all of your neurotransmitter hormones. Yeah. So it's important to kind of think about those things. And we think about the brain fog, like you mentioned, how your brain just is not, not focusing well.
Yeah.
You feel like you're at work, you feel like you need to be on Adderall or ADHD medicine. Some of that brain fog is really from the poor gut health, from having not enough oxytocin or serotonin, and definitely from having too much insulin in the system.
That's right.
Because your body's putting out all this insulin to bring down all the sugar.
Yep.
And that sugar is the number one killer of everyone in the world, really. That sugar is going to really cross that blood-brain barrier, cause you to not focus well. So it's all connected.
I know. I just heard some stats the other day about sugar. If you can. We talk a lot in our practice about detoxing off sugar and gluten and really complex carbs, but sugar, the USDA, and this just comes to like our food and drug industry that is supporting all these bad foods because it's a moneymaker, but the USDA supports 10 grams of sugar in a 2-year-old. They say that is healthy.
Ouch.
I couldn't believe that. Wow. I mean, that's why you'll walk into a
lot.
Daycare and there's sugar everywhere. There's candy. It's okay. I loved what my kids grew up in a charter school, at least my 2 oldest daughters, that was a Spanish immersion school, and we had to pack lunch every day. And one of their rules was it had to be and this was years ago, had to be a healthy lunch,
snack.
And you could not have chocolate or sugar because when you're on a sugar fix, which again bleeds into high insulin, these are dopamine kicks all day.
Yep.
Same thing with when you're looking at TikTok and you're just scrolling through, it's dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. And what
Unless
happens,
it's my TikTok.
it's yours, and it's once and
different.
done.
That's different.
But if you're just sitting on the couch at the end of the day and that's how you relax, it's dangerous because sugar, social media, when you have too many dopamine hits, it leads to long-term anxiety and depression because it's like crack. You're just craving it and you can't get enough. So just, these are all like healthy tools we're talking about to add into this reset of burnout, and then also how to improve by decreasing cortisol and insulin. We are also improving serotonin and dopamine. Yep. And we talk a lot about fasting as a cheap way and a great modality tool to improve all the hormones we're talking about, to help with the cortisol, stress, burnout, and how intermittent fasting looks very different for different people, especially women and their hormones. So windows can be from say 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. or maybe needs to be shorter with less intake. But Mindy Peltz, I talk a lot about her in my practice. She has a great book called Fast Like a Girl and has great podcasts. Just if you're, looking for a way to get started and you need literature, that's a great way. And, read that book like it's your job. It's a great read. So intermittent fasting is something we talk a lot about. And by doing that, you're improving those 5 neurotransmitters we talked about at the end of the year with serotonin and dopamine. And then with hormones, serotonin, dopamine, let's go to estrogen for a second. Estradiol is in every most potent hormone. Most potent hormone. Men and women both have them, but for women, it's our diva, right? And it's in every organ of your body. And pay attention to your cycles because that first half of your cycle, you have a lot of estradiol and estrogen. You may feel more productive. You may feel more sexually interactive. You may feel like you don't have brain fog. You can work out harder. You feel great. After those 2 weeks, when you hit that mid-cycle of 12 to 14 days, it plummets and progesterone comes up. And so you get this massive surge in ovulation of estradiol bleeds into everything. And it's so important. And then from there, progesterone comes in where you may feel for the last 2 weeks where you feel bloated and crampy and irritable and a little bit more moody, even though progesterone's a lovely hormone that releases GABA and does good things. When you're cycling, pay attention to that. So coming back to insulin resistance and why women struggle in a cycle, things that help with that imbalance is that the first 2 weeks of your cycle, you might want to do cardiovascular training, HIIT training, But the second half, if you're really releasing a lot of progesterone and feeling blah, and you're waking up feeling tired and you feel bloated and irritable, move to like a yoga or a Pilates, or that's where, meditation. We talk a lot about meditation as a whole. You can talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah.
But walking in nature, all of those things will help resolve the high progesterone state and decrease cortisol. So, super important about hormone cascade and how kind of one size doesn't fit all. And so from there, you want to talk about testosterone?
Yeah, you'll talk about that. I'm going to lead in with your take off on that progesterone as well. The converse of that is sometimes your progesterone can be too low at that second half of the cycle.
Right.
Of course, coming to us, coming to Heritage, certainly we'll check you, kind of check that progesterone at the luteal phase to see what your progesterone looks like, because some women actually need a little bit of small amount of progesterone at the latter half of the cycle, days maybe 14 to 21, or kind of play with the cycles and see, do cycle mapping is important to kind of know what your cycles are, to know, so that when we do your hormones, we have an idea when to get them, which ones to get, and what to do about them when they come back. So yeah, sometimes you can have too high progesterone or too low of progesterone. So all of those are managed differently. So again, not one size fits all. Sometimes we'll talk about that. We talked about testosterone.
Yes.
So testosterone. The biggest question I have sometimes is, do women need testosterone? The answer is emphatically yes. Testosterone is a very important hormone, just like the estradiol is, just like progesterone is.
Right.
Extremely important androgen. Even the American College of Gynecology says that women who have low testosterone really would benefit from treatment, whether it's testosterone cream, not oral. Some hormone specialists do testosterone pellets. We don't. We do provide testosterone cream for women, because a lot of times you have hormonal symptoms. You feel fatigued, you feel tired, you feel like you have weight gain, you have decreased muscle mass, you start losing some bone strength. All of that sometimes is related to testosterone, as well as all the other hormone mixes. All the hormones play kind of an intricate play together. Testosterone is huge. For men, for your man out there, yes, let's talk about men. And I have my testosterone prop.
Oh, I love that. I wasn't sure what was coming out, but we have an eggplant. Isn't there an emoji for eggplants?
For the man in your life.
Eggplants. And cucumber. Love that.
Great antioxidants, yes. Great for testosterone, great for estrogen. These are important. Make sure that you get them in organic formulations. I always wash my fruits and vegetables in a little bit of vinegar. You may have seen my beet juice video on TikTok where I wash everything in vinegar, rinse it, and then we start making our juices. So very important for antioxidant, very important for testosterone boosting. So for the men in your life, definitely testosterone is huge as well. Testosterone is that lust factor. So we talk about the love hormones. The first is lust. So when you have that attraction towards another person, a lot of times it's the testosterone and the estrogen that are driving that desire, increases our libido. It's in everyone, very important. Second is attraction. We talked about dopamine, you mentioned that, how that kind of gives that attraction to others, the attraction to things, the attraction to Jordans. in excess, that dopamine can be not so
Your
great.
attraction to me.
Attraction to you, my buddy. Give me five.
Best partner.
So serotonin, it involves the brain pathways. It's the reward center, right? So that dopamine kind of gives us that reward that we're looking for. In excess, not so good. So excessive gambling, excessive drinking, just letting your inhibitions go, attraction to multiple people at the same time, inappropriate relationships. That's when your dopamine, you're kind of hitting those centers too hard. You want to have that good yin-yang balance between the two. Last, we talk about the attachment, which is the oxytocin. Oxytocin kind of keeps that attachment to our friends and family, and that's huge. It plays an intricate balance in keeping that attachment going, keeping our friends and family happy, keeping us happy. Very important. So, what do we do about the testosterone? Well, if that man in your life thinks they have low testosterone, it could be the belly fat, it could be the lack of sleep. We talked last time in 2023 about how sleep apnea, which is very undiagnosed in so many people, men and women have it. Sleep apnea is a huge, huge reason why testosterone's low. So getting that testosterone tested is important, but also thinking about the underlying root cause of why the testosterone is low. I might have a guy who comes in and says, hey, I think my T is low, and or I did have it checked somewhere and I found that it was, say, 200, which is pretty low for a young guy. They're asking me why. Same time, I kind of take a look at everything and say, well, 325 pounds, the BMI is really high sugar content. We go through the diet, and a lot of times it's due to the body mass, it's due to the excessive sugar intake, excessive carb intake. All those things just wreak havoc on your testosterone. And then, of course, we ask about sleep. So how many hours are you sleeping at night? Are you waking up your partner? Is your wife snoring? Is your partner snoring? Keeping you up at night really loud? A lot of times it's just not getting oxygen in. When you don't sleep at night, you're not opening up those pathways we talked about last year to release all the toxins. You're not building your testosterone at night. So it's extremely important to think about that.
Yeah, and just in sleep, I would add to that, if you, men and women, if sleep is broken, you cannot repair on the back end. Sleep has to happen, and we're going to talk to you about some different items that we use for sleep in our practice. There's some different options, but if you, whether it's sleep apnea and there's a broken oxygen cycle, which again causes metabolic syndrome and weight gain, and it leads to early Alzheimer's and dementia and cognitive decline, and you can't even fix testosterone really until you fix sleep apnea. And it's the same way with women. If you're just in that perimenopause or menopausal rant, it's not even sleep apnea. You're just waking up and you can't go back to sleep. You're up from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. Your melatonin sunk. We have to fix that, which bleeds into helping the stress burnout syndrome. We got to get 8 hours on board in order to improve cortisol and insulin resistance and help your hormones. In addition to supplements, we'll talk about those, but go ahead. So
we'll just talk about a couple of things that help the testosterone, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of hit on that a little bit earlier. You alluded to HIIT training, right?
Yeah.
So evidence
Losing
does
weight.
suggest that losing weight.
That's right.
Huge, right? The belly fat, we talked about the insulin, how the sugar and everything just lives in the adipose tissue.
Yep.
Losing that weight is so important. It's not the only factor, but it's a big pie. I always tell our clients, it's a big pie, and we have to focus on all the pieces of that pie. If you focus on just one, just give it testosterone, do nothing else,
it doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Your doses end up higher and higher and higher. And of course, use of testosterone has its own complications in excessive doses. So you have to be very careful. It's not one size fits all for everybody. At Heritage, we try to figure it all out, right? So getting the hormones, getting testosterone, looking at the whole picture, at the whole person, precision medicine, that's the way to go, right? So again, weight loss, HIIT training.
Decrease caffeine and decrease sugar and complex carbs really help with testosterone. Higher protein, intermittent fasting, all those things, and sleep. So
sleep, exactly.
Yeah, and then DHEA bleeds into testosterone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is like alphabet soup. DHEA and adrenal glands. Yeah. It is probably, I feel like probably one of the most devaluated tests. When I have patients coming from other practices in traditional medicine, nobody checks for it. Nobody runs it in a hormone panel unless you get sent to an endocrinologist for the question of something's going on with the endocrine system. They may run it with an ACTH and cortisol, but DHEA, you can have an adrenal tumor going on, but low DHEA or high DHEA is problematic with cortisol and testosterone, right? So some people we give supplements of DHEA. It's an amazing hormone. If DHEA and cortisol are off, improving the DHEA also can improve the high stress cortisol state. And we do that different ways, but I feel like you had some stuff, you had some great ideas for DHEA. You use maca and
yeah, absolutely. DHEA, is a precursor to making testosterone, right? So DHEA converts to DHEAS, right? And that kind of leads down the testosterone pathway. So it's just another factor where testosterone comes from. People don't realize that it's made from the adrenal glands. They're thinking all about the ovaries and the testes, which also make testosterone too, but DHEA is a huge factor.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to supplement DHEA by giving it, 25, 50 milligrams, depending on how low the level is, not excess, but not for too long. Sometimes we cycle it, maybe 3 months on, maybe 3 months off, while we're working on everything else at the same time. Extremely important, right? We talked about, sometimes supplements help with increasing testosterone a little bit, but also helps with the vascular flow. So, if your man needs a little extra vascular flow, I lost my strawberry. You didn't cut that. Vascular flow. No.
Okay, great. Yes.
So yes, a lot of women follow us, a lot of men follow us as well. We have to talk about erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons for that is decreased vascular flow. Whether or not the person has high blood pressure, has diabetes,
metabolic
is a smoker,
syndrome.
metabolic syndrome, the excess weight, all of that is causing a vascular problem.
Right.
It's not just about giving you testosterone, it's also about everything else in order to increase your vascular tone, increase the nitric oxide in your system. And what does that? A couple of different supplements we like. There's a couple of things that we found that's been researched that's been found to be somewhat beneficial. One, talk about tribulus. Tribulus is a Chinese herb, works well to increase your vascular flow, increases your testosterone to some degree, but also increases the nitric oxide. We talk about how using maca root increases your libido, gives a little libido boost. It's an aphrodisiac. It's been used in Peruvian herbs for a long time. It kind of increased that flow into the vascular areas which is needed the most.
Do you have maca root there?
I do have some maca root
Yeah,
here.
do you want to hold it up?
We do
some
like
maca.
this.
This pure encapsulation.
Pure encapsulations.
Great
makes a
medical
nice
grade
one.
company.
Right, exactly. Be very
your,
careful.
Let's see, oh, that's your.
This is my libido stem.
Yep.
Guys like this libido stem. It's great. This has a little bit of ginkgo in it. It has some tribulus in it. It has DIM. So follow us because we're going to talk about these things in detail on our next videos. But this has some DIM in it as well. It also has a little bit of tribulus as well in it. It's very good.
And just to categorize, so libido too for women, DIM, and men can have high estrogen states. The more adipose tissue men have, the more estradiol they have, which makes the weight gain even worse. But DIM we find in foods, and we have it. I use estrofactors a lot, but that has DIM in it. DIM helps in the first phase of estrogen detox for men and women. So for women who have that snippet and are not having a good methylation pathway and have estrogen excess, which can lead you to, possibly a hormone-based breast cancer, ovarian cancer, weight gain, all the things, unbalanced estrogen and testosterone, being on DIM can be really helpful. And there's a lot of good food, cruciferous foods, kale, all kinds of good foods.
Yeah, it works well. There's something called aromatization, which we'll talk about in another video, where you aromatize. So if you're making too much testosterone, and women make too much testosterone, they convert that to high levels of estrogen. Same thing in men. Sometimes they can not have enough, and they have too much estrogen, so it modulates and gets rid of the bad estrogen out the system in order for the testosterone to work better. So it has multiple factors. So green cruciferous vegetables, asparagus, cucumber, kale,
cucumbers,
all this very helpful. So we'll talk about that in another video. L-citrulline is my last one. L-citrulline, again, that converts into, people heard of L-arginine. L-arginine is great. We use a lot of L-arginine at the clinic. It kind of goes through your kidneys and everything, degrades a little bit. L-citrulline bypasses that, so it does help you to increase the nitric oxide in your system, increase your vascular flow. All of these things might be effective, but be very careful. Consult your medical professional, consult us. Sometimes using things in excess, so not the right product or the right brand, can cause some problems, so be very careful.
Yeah. And so just, other supplements, minerals, vitamins that are helpful for some of the different states we talked about with, hormone dysfunction, or let's go back to the cortisol stress syndrome, which is bleeding into our anxiety and depression and mental health in this country that, everybody just keeps labeling it from COVID, and it's not. There's I believe there's a multifactorial approach in what's happening to our society. And, even colleagues of ours, I have a good friend who's a pediatrician who's, not anywhere near retirement yet, and just already talking about retirement because the burnout with medical professionals high, only because you're just seeing anxiety and depression and ADD, I say in quotes, because everybody thinks they have ADD. My oldest daughter, who goes to Georgia, is telling me that Adderall, Vyvanse, almost everybody she knows is on it. It's being thrown around like candy, and it is horrifying to me because instead of identifying what the problem is, which is what we're talking about, here's another pill that's toxic to the body. So with anxiety and depression, elements and minerals, vitamins that are good, magnesium is incredibly important. And magnesium has receptors that also helps, let's go back to oxytocin again. So oxytocin can bind, and it improves the level of happiness and love by increasing magnesium. Many of you may have heard, take extra mag at night if you're having it relaxes you. Magnesium's a good one. Another one is MTHFR. I've talked a lot about in these sessions in this country. We call it the mother effing gene. I won't say it out loud, but it has 5 different methylating snippets to it, and it's under tested. Insurance doesn't want to cover it, but interestingly enough, it is covered in gene site testing, which we do for psych to determine what medications will work for somebody when they've had a lot of interactions, because the psychiatric world does identify it.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with MTHFR is it's a methylating problem, and depending on which allele you have a deviation to, you can have massive problems, blood clots, infertility, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, but you can also have minor snippets, which, just basically the long and short is you can't really break down B vitamins well and B vitamins into folate. And so honestly, in my opinion, everybody should be on methylated B vitamins, just because we don't really know who, not always, sometimes we can test for it, but we may not know if you have MTHFR. But if you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling irritable, you're anxious, you're stressed, the first place I'm hitting my patients is you need B vitamins.
Right.
And we were talking about hormones and hormone replacement therapy. Again, I've got a lot of my men on testosterone just say, I just want testosterone, I just want Viagra. They don't understand, if you are on hormone replacement therapy, period, you have to be on methylated B vitamins, because hormone replacement therapy depletes those B vitamins. And B6 is it's a calming vitamin. It releases a chemical in your brain. B3, super important for energy. So they all have there's B1 through B12. SAMe, the one that we have here that I use a lot of in the clinic, it's Blissfora. SAMe is a natural occurring element in our body we produce, but it helps with anxiety. In Blissfora, it is for the MTHFR or what's called COMT pathway problem patients. There's methylated B12 and folate. This is a great product we use that's a great alternative to, say, Xanax or Ativan or Boost Bar, and is healthy for you. Exhilarin's one of my new favorites. Wendell actually turned me on to this.
Good
so we have we talked about cortisol stress and adrenal fatigue, which again is what bleeds into our mental health disorders. Adricet is one we use a lot, but Exhilarin is a newer one that's come into play. It has holy basil, kava, ashwagandha. Ashwagandha root is a huge adaptogen, right?
Absolutely.
Adricet has a different kind of repair, but this also gives stress relief energy. And so this is a great one that we've started picking up, which again is what we're bringing to you in our practice and on these videos, is the content on products that work. We, not because it's like, here, take one more supplement and you hate us for that, but these are just things that are going to help get your body, in addition to all the other tools we're using, like eating well, food, sleeping well, intermittent fasting, exercise. So all the things you can do on your own, these are supplements that can be helpful. In the month of February, for the remainder of the month of February, we're giving 20% off any of these products. So you can just call the clinic. If you're already signed up with Metagenics or Full Scripts, we can get that taken care of for you. So
absolutely. So I think lastly, talk about our giveaway.
Oh, a giveaway!
We have a Valentine's giveaway, right, for our men and our women. So men, if you wanted to get a little something special for your lady for Valentine's Day, like, subscribe, share. When you do that, your name will go into our raffle to win this amazing. Look at this.
I love that book, Woman, Food,
incredible.
And Hormones. Yeah.
Sarah Gottfried. If you're not following her, other than following us first, follow her second. She's amazing.
Yeah,
her videos are great. Her blogs are great. She's great. She talks about women, food, hormones, all the things for detoxification of your system, how to eat the balanced food, some great recipes in here, which I've tried.
Yeah.
Incredible. So yes, this could be yours. Yeah. Yours.
Yes.
If you do what you have to do. So subscribe, share, your name goes in, you'll be taking Sarah Godfrey's book home.
And it has my favorite avocado on there. So
that's right.
High oxytocin.
Go green, go green, go green, go green.
Yeah, speaking of green, stay tuned for our March episode where Wendell and I are going to do a healthy cooking episode. And look, guys, we get it. I mean, it's tough right now. Economically, people are struggling. 1 in 4 people can't pay their medical bills. And it's hard to eat on a good budget. And so it's, really shopping for discounts. We're always happy to post some of those. I know Fresh Market always has good discounts on Tuesdays on like chicken and ground beef, and, just really trying to find or balance the organic foods is going to be so important in your journey and getting glycophosphates out and pesticides that are just killing us. And so the food has to be a big part of it. And everybody's in a health crunch right now, and we get it.
Yep.
And so we're trying to offer discounts where we can, and we understand, but just, dig deep. There's also some free things like intermittent fasting is a free modality. And, create your own little greenhouse, grow some food, grow some vegetables if you have that capability. So.
Yep. And in the long run, it's always cheaper later to eat healthy now, take care of your body now, reduce the sugar, reduce the complex carbs, eat healthy now, then the complications of cardiovascular disease, heart disease, diabetes, the complications from obesity, the poor dental health, all of those things play in later by not doing a good balanced, good diet now, weight loss now, sugar for your children now. Later on, they have high dental bills, they have high medical bills, so will you. So yeah, you save money in the long run by doing these simple things, and a lot of them are free. HIIT training can be at the house, doing burpees, doing sit-ups, walking your dog up a hill. That's a form of HIIT training to some degree.
That's right.
All these little things you can do to really kind of, have the positive intentions to reach your goals in 2024.
Yeah, and come see us. We're happy to be there to help support you, get your team in place. We can be part of that for you.
That's right.
All right, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yay, cheers.
Cheers. Don't drop your strawberry.